My name is Melba. This is my first time doing a video, so I guess I'm trying to find a good light. Well, about 6 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was on YouTube and I was looking at all the videos from all the ladies and everything, like what they had been through, their emotions, how they were feeling before and after and during. And the videos were very helpful, and it made me want to do my own video to tell my story. And, talking sometimes gets it off your chest, and you feel a little better. And just to document everything that I'm going through. It's a very hard time for me to find this out 6 weeks ago. So here's my story. Um, 2014, I feel a knot in my breast. And I go to my doctor and I ask the doctor, can I get a mammogram? He said, well, you're 39 and we don't do those until you're 40. Now I'm just a few months shy of being 40. And I tell him, my mom had breast cancer. So, this is something I really want to do because I feel something. And he says, nah. After talking and talking, then he went ahead, he changed his mind. You know, how they touch and say, oh, your tissues are not right at this age. And, they get better once you're 40 and I don't know. But all the stuff he was saying, I couldn't understand why I couldn't get this mammogram. But I ended up getting it. So I leave there, I go get the mammogram. The mammogram said I need to do a biopsy. From the biopsy, we find out that now I need to have a lumpectomy. They go in, find out everything that's going in. I go in and I do this procedure. Oh, awoke. No pain meds, really just whatever they shot up under my arm. Um, it was a same day procedure. Went home. Nothing bad. I mean, I was in a little pain, but nothing that I couldn't really tolerate during that time. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't really, really hard either. So, but I made it through. This is in August of 2014. I had the surgery. Um, then I had to go back for my follow-up appointment. And the doctor tells me that I have pre-cancer and that it wasn't cancer. So I'm like, what is pre-cancer? He's like, well, it's actually where the cells are growing very slow. And when they grow very slow, it was contained into a knot, probably about this big. So with the knot being, with everything being on the inside of it, he said they got all of it. They even got extra tissues on around it, so that if anything else had came out, they had grabbed all of this. I said, okay. They even went into my lymph nodes, and got those. It was one on the first one. They didn't take it. They just cleaned it off. Okay. I don't know anything about this at this point, so I'm thinking everything is right. I don't do any chemo. I don't do any radiation. I'm free to go home. At this point, I'm like pre-cancer, so either you have it or you don't. So to me, I had it. I had breast cancer symbol on the inside of my breast. Every x-ray would show it. So I have to do, for the next 5 years, I had to, every 6 months, I had to do mammograms. Kept up with those, did those. On time, on schedule, all the time. About a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, I go and I get one from another facility. And only because now I'm feeling something on the outside, like I'm itching really bad. My nipples are very sensitive. And so I'm scratching all the time. And so I go ask, the lady could she do another biopsy just so I could be for sure. And she does it and said, oh, okay, you're okay. Everything is fine. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, why am I itching? She said, probably because you're still healing. I'm thinking, well, it's been, at this point, almost what, 2014, 2017? So it's been 3 years at this point. And so, well, it's right before 2017. So it was 2 years, 10 months, 11 months, something like that. So she said, everything is fine. You're okay. I'm like, okay. So now it's time for me to go get another one. So now I'm going to another doctor. I got me my regular doctor. And so this will be my first time doing a mammogram with this lady. So I go in and I tell her I want one. Boom, no problem. She gives it to me. Here you go. So I go get it. That one said I need to do a biopsy. So I go in, I do a biopsy, and while I'm doing it, the doctor says, "Well, Melba, I just got a lot of blood, so I think that you just have a blood clot." I said, "Oh, okay." She's like, "Yeah, I don't see anything that could really." She said, "Just a bunch of blood clots." So after we get the results back from the biopsy, then we'll go ahead and treat this blood clot that you have in your breast. I'm like, "Okay." So I leave. A few days later, I get a call to come back to the office. So I go back to the office, and she walks in and sits down and said, "Well, Melba, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What does I'm sorry mean? I'm sorry you have breast cancer." I lose it. I'm crying. I can't believe this. I'm in total disbelief. Like, I did this in 2014. I cannot possibly be doing this again. So she said, "I want to test you for the gene, just in case it's in your family, because you said your mom had it." I said, "Okay." So I go through that, do that, and then, by the way, that came back negative. And so she sends me on my way, tell me she's going to give me the results of that later on at my next doctor appointment. I said, "Okay." She said, "But I want to send you to a second opinion. I want to make sure what I see is what the next doctor sees, because I'm seeing the knot, the lump, and the cells and everything." I said, "Okay." Second opinion, no problem, let's go. So I go to the second opinion doctor. I go in. He said, "Well, Dr. Stratman sent you to me because he wanted to be for sure for what she's seen." And I'm looking at it and I don't see what she's seen. I'm like, "Why don't you see what she see?" He's like, "Well, I see the cells, but I kind of see something more or less like a precancer." I said, "A precancer?" All right, here we go with this word again. I did this in 2014. So he gets to asking questions, and now, mind you, from my first mammogram, they took in where they did the surgery. They put in one of those, the breast cancer sign. Well, when they went and did my biopsy, they were this close. So the X is here and the 0 is here. And they're almost on top of each other from the place where I had it the last time. It's another knot form lump is formed and it's right next. I mean, like they would almost have to put it over it, is what they told me. So I have an X and I have an O in my breast. And he's asking me questions about radiation and chemo. I told him I never had any. He said, "Well, why not?" I said, "Well, the doctor never gave it to me. He just said that he got all the tissues out around it." He said, "Well, Melba, looking at what I see, I can best guarantee you that this is from the very first one that you had, and that they're so close together that it was some forms of it that they did not get. Even if they grabbed everything around it, it probably has stemmed out some more and they didn't get it. And now you have it again." Like, okay. He said, "So, I needed to do your blood work." So I did my blood work, and then I had to come back for another doctor's appointment. So I did the blood work. He said, "Well, in the process of that, I'm going to set you up with the radiologist so she can look over all this and see if you have to do radiation." So I go see the radiologist, and then she's asking me questions like, what was the doctors telling me? So I'm telling her about the precancer. I told her about the one doctor seeing it, next doctor saying I have precancer. She said, "Melba, there's no such thing as a precancer." She said, and I know they tell people this, but precancer is nothing but cancer at a slow moving pace, which means that you right now is a 1.3. That's how fast or slow you want to say that is moving at a 1.3. Anything over 1.5 is an elevated. So right now mine is very, very slow. So she said, "I don't see any problem with them just taking the lump out, no radiation. Then they have to see about if they want to do chemo, but radiation you won't have to have." I said, "Okay." So as soon as I leave this doctor's office, I have to go right back down to the next doctor's office, back to Dr. Floyd again on the same day, same time. So I leave there, go right back. So I go back down there, and he says, so you did everything down there. What did she say? I said, she said no chemo. I mean, no radiation. He said, okay, that's good. He said, as far as for me as the chemo, I won't be able to tell the chemo until after we get everything taken care of and get the lump out. I said, okay. So he's like, well, we'll have to do a lumpectomy on you. And I'm saying, sir, I did this before. I've had a lumpectomy already, and I'm 4 years later, and here I am again. So I say, maybe I should just take this breast off. That way I don't have anything to work with. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And just, I told him I watched my mother struggle with this for so long. And it's not something that I want to do. I don't want to struggle with this. I just want it to be over with. And he said, and I understand and I support you with that. So we leave, and he said, well, I'm going to schedule you a contrast MRI, which is a dye MRI where you go into a facility designed only for this type of MRI. So I go in, and I sit there 45 minutes, and they take in IV, and it shoots the dye in me, and I have to drink a cup of water to, I guess, move it along. After that, they come get me, and I have to lay on the table for another 45 minutes with my breast in these tubes, and lay down on top of it. So you land not face down because you elevated some, kind of an awkward position. So I go do this MRI and get done with that. I'm done. And so then I get a call 2 weeks ago. 1, 2, 3 weeks ago. So 3 weeks ago, I get a call from my doctor's office, but I missed it. Left my phone in the car. I missed it. So when I called back, the nurse practitioner, Stephanie, is like, Melba, the doctor's trying to get a hold to you. And then she said she has some results for you. I said, okay. She's like, well, keep your phone handy so that when she calls you tomorrow, she's working at another facility tomorrow, so she's going to be calling you from that number, not from our number. I said, okay. So the day goes on, and I'm thinking, I don't think anything during the daytime. We went into that night when I got ready to lay down, and I said, why would my doctor be calling me to tell me that she want to give me my results when I have a doctor's appointment with her the following week to go over my test results? So I'm like, I don't get it. It can't be right. So now I can't sleep. I'm up all night. I'm crying. I'm upset. I'm like, what is going on? All night. So I get up, I'm getting up, going about my day, and she finally calls me about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She calls and she said, Melba, we got the results back from your MRI. And I said, okay. And she said, well, where we thought that you were just had the knot? I was like, yeah. It's throughout your whole breast. I'm like, oh my God. Now, mind you, in between this 6-week time, I have had a mammogram, an ultrasound, a sonogram, another MRI. They have poked and pried on me for 5 weeks. No, at this point, it was 1, 2. In a matter of 3 weeks. These people, I have went to a doctor's appointment almost every other day for this. Melba, we need you to do an ultrasound. We need to do a sonogram. Go back and do another ultrasound. Now, the entire time, they were only focused on my right breast. They never looked at my left breast because I never had any problems with it. So they were just focused on this right one. So now where they're just a little bit, we thinking a knot, it's throughout my entire breast. And I'm just heartbroken. So even though I had made my decision to already cut my breast off, and I was already making the decision to cut my other breast off, only because I didn't want to have to deal with this again. Where it was still in my mind whether or not I wanted to take the second one off or not take the second one off. Where I was deciding whether or not to take the right one off and just do a lumpectomy and still live as me. Now I have to take off my right breast. Not only did the mammogram show that, the mammogram showed that I have something on my left side, on the outside of my left breast, and up under my armpit, and both my arms, my lymph nodes. Something in both of those. So they go in and now they want to do ultrasounds on my lymph nodes up under my arm. They want to do those. And I'm saying, what good is that going to do? Because they didn't catch all that sonogramming and all that ultrasounding and mammogramming y'all was doing. Y'all didn't catch it then. So why am I still running over here getting this when the MRI, the dye MRI, already has showed y'all everywhere that the cancer is? And that was the purpose for it, because the lady talked to me. She said, everywhere there is cancer in your body, it's going to be highlighted with the dye. And the dye came back both my breasts and up under both of my arms. They still sent me out for a sonogram. So I go back in. I'm talking to my Dr. Floyd. Dr. Floyd tells me then, he says, well, Melba, the MRI came back. We see it. And now you know what it is. So now at this point, I'm at a double mastectomy now. And the only way they're going to go in with all of this dye stuff to go up under my arms to make sure they get all the cancer from up under my arm. And that way I knew that whatever was in my arm would be taken care of. No biopsy, no, none of that. Just get rid of it. I just want it gone. Whatever the cost is, losing both my breasts and 4 or 5 lymph nodes on each side, lymph nodes, whatever, on both sides, just let it be gone. I just have been in total disbelief. It is totally disheartening. I have been through so much in 6 weeks. I could not even imagine even going through as much as I have been through. I do have a great support team. I thank them for being here. They go to my doctor's appointments with me. They stay with me and call me. But still hurt. Very, very hurt. I don't even know. Some days if I'm coming or going because I'm up all night and I'm thinking about it. Just hurtful. Just hurtful. Well, this is my first video. I will be having surgery in 10 to 14 days. And I will keep you guys posted. Thank you and goodbye.